What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Friday, August 27th, and we're doing a little Super Friends breakdown of the week 3 of the preseason. In the feed, a bunch of different episodes from Fantasy Week. We had a great best ball chat with Josh Norris and a great DFS chat with Frank Stanfield, as well as the one, the only Jamie Eisenberg on to give out some of his best advice for your draft. So make sure and check out those episodes. Today's episode brought to you by, that's right, Pick Six is presented by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Share a Bud Light with us as you listen along, and you can do that. You can acquire that Bud Light and by heading to budlight.com/delivery to order Bud Light's limited edition team cans. Just hit the market, find yours, and stock the fridge for kickoff of the NFL season. We'll be unveiling ours in a little bit. You can probably get, I mean, you don't have to cover up the bottle there, Wilson. Again, budlight.com/delivery to get your Bud Light. Joining me to break down, to look at preseason week 3, Ryan Wilson and John Breech. What's up, boys?
Hey.
Breech has muted himself. It's amazing. It's like a weekly thing at this
What
point.
is he doing?
I don't know. He didn't show up with the Bud Bowl hat like we talked about.
I've been out of here 2 weeks. I don't know how my podcasting equipment works anymore. I'm still riding the high of being auctioned off for 4 figures. My God, that's how popular I was.
That's right. We should point out that the Pick Six podcast auctions for St. Jude on eBay to raise money for charity have ended. Debo, what was the final figure for the Pick Six Super Friends that we were procured for?
4 figures. 2,700. I would.
Did Breech say 5 figures?
No. I was just following him because I don't have the exact, but it's over $2,700 between the 3 of you. So
I don't know who we're dunking on there, but I guess dunking on.
We're dunking on the other podcast that didn't match that
number. That's right. Shots fired straight at the Cover 3 podcast. Chip, Tom, Danny, Bud. Guess what? You got smoked. I don't know. There's an actual competition. I do know that Chip Patterson texted me and was like, I think he was trying to inquire about suspicious activity. And I got to tell you, there was zero suspicious activity. We just have a very loyal fan base that listens to this podcast and was willing to pony up big buckaroos to donate to charity.
By the way, Greg actually on the podcast where Breech wasn't here last week, I implored anyone to make me get me past Breech, because at the time we were both around $10 or $20, and Greg stepped up. I think he got it up to $150. He said, "I'll take care of you." And then he tweeted at me once the numbers were much higher than that, and he was apologetic, and he said he got dunked on. I said, "No, you didn't get dunked on. We appreciate all your help."
You kickstarted it. That's right.
You kickstarted it, Greg, the 49ers fan. So yeah, every little bit was helpful. I didn't beat Breech this year, but when I beat him up next year, then I will beat him both physically and in the. I'm just trying to figure out how I can win this thing.
Well, I mean, like Breech was the top seller, and I would never try to imply that it was my legwork that got Bengals fans to donate.
I was wondering how this is going to work.
His number that high. I wouldn't try to take credit for Breech's number that he was auctioned off for. But and I would never be bitter that I was lower than Breech, or that Breech was clearly going to get credit in the office for being that high. But I wouldn't do any of that. That's not my style.
Very
what would you do?
Very unbrinson-like.
What would you do?
I would passively aggressively mention it in a way that got the point across. At any rate, I really don't care. I'm pumped that all 3 of us. I think Wilson was 760.
Dude, I thought I just wanted to get over like $50, so that was awesome. Thank you. Do we know? I don't know who made the final bid, but thank you, everyone who.
We haven't had everything completely sorted out.
I do know. We'll hear more about that down the road, but we got it.
But thank you to anybody who put in a bid. Thank you to anybody who.
I actually pledged this. I said whatever the final bid is on me is how much I will make Brinson spend on that Ryan Finley tattoo. So it's going to be a $760 Ryan Finley tattoo, which I'm super excited about.
And more chances, the Fantasy Football Today Draft-a-thon, Wednesday, September 1st. What I'm hearing, Brinson will appear on that at 11:50 p.m. Eastern time. That's the latest I've heard. So support, but it will be going on for 6 hours. Brinson will be there late night, rounding it out. So fantasy football today, draft-a-thon, and you'll have more chances to donate to St. Jude.
11:50
Pacific time, by the way. I don't think Debo mentioned that part.
They're gonna keep it together until 11:50, huh? Or just show up and.
I was gonna say, why change now?
Saving the best for last, Brinson.
That's
That's what we're looking at. Saving
thanks,
the last.
whoever's in charge of that, for giving me that tea time.
I have an idea. All the people you've alienated.
I guess burning as many bridges as humanly possible is a bad idea, huh? Is that what you're saying? All right, let's get to the podcast chatter. By the way, Wilson.
Yes.
On our picks last week.
Oh yeah, how'd we do?
Oh, my friend.
Did pretty good.
At that. That is.
Brinson is holding a piece of paper up to the camera, and I can't even see it, and I'm literally right in front of him. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, you probably can't. Brinson, why don't you just read that?
Chiefs first half, winner. Jets -2.5, winner. Ravens -3.5, winner. Lions +5.5, a loser, but they did close at +7, and that would have won. They lost by 6 points. I'll still mark it as an X though. Colts,
by the way, the Lions were down 26-0 and came back, so we were almost there.
Yeah. Colts +2.5, winner. Rams under 35, winner. Denver -5, winner. And then 49ers actually won by 5, had a missed field goal and maybe 2 missed extra points. So they didn't cover. I should have gone with the 49ers Chargers under.
What was the line of that 49ers game?
5.5.
5.5.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Dang
so we ended up going 6-2. 7-1 if you, depending on how you would want to grade that Lions, but we gave out 5.5 and people would have bet it then. So
didn't Breech say that he was 32-0 so far during the preseason?
Now, in my defense, I sent you guys a text
Now, in your defense, you're lying.
I have the text. I can show the text messages on. You can see them on YouTube if you want to go that far.
What good did the text messages do?
Yeah,
well, because on Saturday I said bet all the AFC teams because the AFC teams been winning. And then they won every single game on Saturday night. I sent you a text about 6 p.m. on Saturday.
You said as a text, you're like, all the AFC teams won. If you'd parlay them, you would have won.
Yeah, and then I said, so bet AFC teams because there were 4 more games that night. And then they won all 4 of them.
Breech is the guy who every Tuesday says, if you guys should, I knew all those teams were going to win and or
I
lose.
texted you before the games happened. I don't know what else to say.
I didn't get the text until 2 days ago.
Oh, well, let's see. I'm going to just go ahead and we don't
all
need
right, what's next?
Dunking. We don't need, Wilson, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't want to.
We don't need to dunk all over you.
Breech said, I've somehow been on fire in the preseason. AFC was 16-1 against NFC after Jets Packers. So, but he didn't say I went 16-1. He just said the AFC went 16-1.
He's quoting facts.
Yeah. It's like, I've been on fire.
Maybe he literally was on fire and then he took a chance. He took an opportunity to look at the scores while he was being toweled off. Fair enough. All right, let's go. I don't want to talk about this because Breech clearly is in the wrong.
Oh wait, he did send us a wagers he made on AFC underdogs. Okay, all right.
Yeah, like I said, if you just moved on, we never would have known that. And he
Breech bet $4.30 on the Bengals,
and won $12
or 14.60. Yeah, 14.
Fair enough. You can buy half.
I'll
a pizza.
Take the profit.
Way to go. Breech bought 2 slices.
Those little bets add up. Those little bets add up.
Never make fun of a man's unit size, even no matter how small it is.
Hey, all right. What's going on? Let's
go.
Oh boy,
Dickie V yelling about unit size is the perfect encapsulation of this podcast.
So let's get to what to watch for in week 3. We had 2 starting quarterbacks named officially, and we will cover those. Trevor Lawrence, the starting quarterback in Jacksonville. Wow. Shocker. What a surprise. Thank you, Urban, for that revealing information.
Hydrate. Hustle.
And maybe more importantly than that is, and by the way, the Jaguars are -3.5 against, or -3, excuse me, over at Caesars against the Cowboys. That number is dropping, and it should be dropping because the freaking Jaguars are terrible. They suck. Our Steve Spurrier theory was dead ass wrong, Wilson. And he's like the opposite of Steve Spurrier. Urban Meyer and this offense can't get going. Do you guys, I would ask you this. I mean, with Trevor Lawrence being named the starter here, do you have any concerns about Trevor Lawrence in this coming season? And then 2, do you think that what we're seeing from Urban in this offense is more about them trying to be vanilla in the preseason, or is this more about an inability to blend Darrell Bevell's offense with Urban's offense while having a rookie quarterback that you're dealing with?
So Urban Meyer runs a wide open offense. Darrell Bevell has never been accused of running anything wide open. So
no, Bevell just takes deep shots.
It's oil and water, number one. And you could see the frustration, perceived or otherwise, in Urban's face every time they panned over to him, no matter the time of the game, whether it's a kickoff or the end of the game. And he looks like he's constipated while also contemplating some serious stuff. This team is not great. They didn't have two of their starters on the offensive line in the Saints game. It's not going to matter. Like Trevor Lawrence is, I think it's safe to say, far and away been the worst rookie first round quarterback this preseason. End of the day, that doesn't mean anything, but a lot of these guys on different levels are having success. Trevor is not having success, and it's not his fault. You put Mac Jones on this Jaguars team, he's already taken off the field on a stretcher. I mean, Trey Lance is running for his life. And the good news for Trevor Lawrence is that he's big and strong, so he can absorb these hits. But again, we're 2 weeks into this thing, and it's only preseason. He ain't going to make it to week 7 or 8 if this keeps up. Travis Etienne's now hurt. He's probably done for the year. And Pete Prisco pointed this out on Twitter while watching the Monday night game, which was the Saints-Jaguars game. Every one of their offensive playmakers are slow. Like, they're not getting open, and that's also a huge problem. Maybe to your point, Brinson, that has something to do with the quote-unquote vanilla offense. But sweet Jesus in the morning time. I mean, Jameis Winston looked really, really, really good running a vanilla offense. I mean, he was laser locked in, and you just don't see that, these long developing plays that the Jaguars are running. And their defense, which is young and presumably getting better, has not gotten better yet. This is a tough ask for a team that won one football game last year. And Breech, I was wrong about the Tim Tebow thing. I figured he'd make the team if he's going to be there. Let's see, 17 games now. So 25 games over under the Urban Meyer coaches for the Jaguars.
Over.
Okay.
I mean, they get to play the Texans twice, so that alone could allow them.
The Texans are saying the same thing with the Jaguars.
Well, right. But I'm just saying that, and it's their first game of the season. Literally, they could win their opener just like they did last year and then lose every other game for the rest of the season. And we could see that happening. And the one thing I will say about Trevor Lawrence, and you just mentioned Jameis Winston maybe running that vanilla offense in New Orleans right now, but he still looks good, is that Sean Payton has run the same offense for 14 years. So he's been burning into Jameis Winston's head last year and this year. So, he's gotten a little bit of experience in that offense, whereas you have a new coach, a new NFL coach in Urban Meyer trying to get this offense implemented with a new offensive coordinator. And then you also have a new quarterback who obviously has no time in the system because he's a rookie. So there are a few things, like, I just think Trevor Lawrence can only go up from here. And also, when you look at him compared to the other rookies, like, I absolutely agree with you, Ryan, that Lawrence has looked the worst in the preseason so far. But I think the one thing you have to keep in mind is that he has been the only rookie quarterback that has pretty much only played against the other team's first team defense, because Trevor Lawrence has been the starter in every single preseason game he's played for so far. Whereas you have, Mac Jones coming in their second or third quarter when the competition's a little bit easier because the first team defenses aren't out there. The only person that's been comparable to that is Zach Wilson, who has played lights out better. So I think that's the only fair quarterback right now to compare Trevor Lawrence to. And Zach Wilson has just been phenomenal to his part. But then Justin Fields, he hasn't played against great competition. We saw him in week 2, 9-19 for 80 yards. And again, he's playing against the second and third string guys and is struggling. So I think when you look at it through that lens, that maybe Trevor Lawrence hasn't been as bad as he kind of seems compared to the other rookie quarterbacks.
I'm not blaming Trevor Lawrence at all. I'm just blaming everyone around Trevor Lawrence and the coaching staff, which Pete Prisco is really concerned about. But Pete Prisco's concerned about him, but he had them going over their 6-win total. At no point did I think they're going to win more than 6 football games.
Pete Prisco no longer has them going over the 6
said it 4 days ago.
If the Jags have lost Prisco, they've lost everyone.
Johnny flip-flop is going back under. And Pete is also, by the way, making waves. We should point out that, so Pete goes on, and by the way, this is the sort of thing that if you work for a company, like, we're all trying to row the boat in the same direction here, right? We're trying to build up, like, if CBS tweets out the NFL announcing pairings, I'm going to retweet it. Now, only a jerk would accuse you of kissing up by doing that, like Pete, right? Additionally, Prisco goes on CBS Sports Radio and like an Odyssey show with our buddy Damon Amendolara, and he gives like kind of a scoop about Urban Meyer and how the players reportedly, quote, aren't thrilled with him. And it gets picked up by Fox News and Roto World, and now it's being picked up by like every single football site out there, and all the traffic's going back to Fox News. So I mean, somebody needs to talk to Pete. The boss people need to have a sit down with Pete and say, buddy, we're all in the same boat here. Grab your oar and be a teammate. You know, don't just jump in the water and swim around by yourself with the manatees down here in the Florida rivers. You need to get in the boat.
Maybe he's in the kayak and he's just facing the wrong direction.
Or how do we know? Maybe Pete's angling for a job at Fox News. You know, who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, who's to say whether that would be something that would be up his alley or not? It'd be impossible to decide. Point being is that Pete's scoop is it's like even on thespun.com. It's like Pete said he's got to change a few things. He brought a bunch of college-like things to the program, which I don't necessarily agree with. Prisco said, per Fox News. And I've heard some of the players aren't thrilled with him either, including having a microphone on the field. One of his assistants on the field during practice with a boom mic telling everyone to hydrate and hustle and get to the next period.
The real question, if you're on YouTube, you can see that Debo has put on the screen Pete Prisco, not a team player. So the one of the issues with Pete's report, his breaking news story, is that people were confused on Twitter by the boom mic. So a boom mic's a long stick with a mic on the end of it that you sort of hang over a crowd to get. So does the coach have a boom mic or does the coach have a megaphone? Because it'd be awesome if it literally was a boom mic walking around with like a sound guy holding a boom mic and then you just see Urban Meyer yelling to the boom mic, even though there's no reason for that. The hydrate and hustle stuff, I don't get why that's a problem. Just seems like good advice, but again, what do I know?
There was a report about where was it on? Where Urban Meyer, one of his players, which player? There's a player. Where did I hear the story? It's sort of a puff piece type of thing, but there's a report that like he was in one of his players. Oh, it's Josh Allen. Josh Allen was in the hospital. Yeah, with his wife and having a baby. And
I think that was Peter King. It was in
that's where it was. Good call. Thanks. She was Peter King wrote about this, and there were this nurse was telling Josh Allen's wife that she had to stop breastfeeding, had to use a certain type of formula. She wanted to breastfeed. Naturally, she's freaking out. She's calling, texting, talking to Josh Allen about this, and it's causing Josh Allen, just like anybody, your home life, you got stuff going on, it can bleed into work, etc. And so Josh Allen called Urban and was like, "Hey man, I know this is crazy, but this is happening at the hospital and my wife's going nuts." So Urban called the CEO of the hospital and basically had him tell them what would be going on with the Allen family. And that's good. That's great that he was able to tell his coach, and his coach pulled a favor for him. But I mean, he did kind of bigwig an entire wing of the maternity ward.
What's the bad part about that? So Urban's trying to help out.
No, he helped him out. I mean, he did. Yeah. He helped him out and he solved the problem.
So what's the?
Are you just making a face? I don't think there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, outside of
I thought you were telling a story that this is a reason why.
No, I'm saying that there's been some of that stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
But then
that was one of the stories that we're saying that Urban Meyer's kind of winning over the locker room, which is opposite of what Pete is saying.
Oh, okay, now I got you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm not. Look, Peter King goes on the camp tours, and he's talking to the PR guys, and I mean, that's a story that's being hey, check out this cool story that happened, and that's that's the PR's guy's job to get that news out there. The thing that Pete's talking about that I think is more concerning than how Urban's helping out Josh Allen's wife is that essentially Jacksonville, the Jaguars are being run like a college program. And
here's the thing
that wears on NFL players quickly.
I would imagine the Lions are being run like that too. And the problem is both those teams aren't going to win very many football games. I don't know what the example. Pete Carroll is a college coach who wins football games. You don't hear people whinging as much about Pete Carroll until they start losing football games. So I think at the end of the day, it works until it doesn't. And if you're losing, if you're a 1-15 team, I don't even know how many games the Lions won last year, but it wasn't a lot. If you're a losing football team and you continue to lose with a rah-rah guy, that's going to rub adults the wrong way, whereas 18 to 21-year-olds are more accustomed to that because they're right out of high school. I get that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm more concerned about just the offense they're running and what the plan is there, because they don't appear to have one. But again, maybe that's just preseason vanilla offense.
And the other thing with the rah-rah college stuff is that like NFL players don't want to be treated like children, or like Urban Meyer is treating the 18 to 21-year-olds who he had in college. It's a big difference when you are coaching, these guys coming out of high school who probably have $300 in their bank account, and now you're in the NFL trying to boss around guys who are mostly millionaires. You got to treat them differently, and so you can't just do the exact same thing you did in college and bring that to the NFL. And the other thing in college, Urban Meyer's even talked about this part, is that it changes what you have to do with your roster, because when you're at Ohio State, you can have 400 players on the team, 85 scholarship players, but after that, if you can get 300 dudes to walk on, then you have as much depth as you could ever possibly need. And in the NFL, you don't have that. You barely have enough for 2 guys at each position. So it just
you're out there wasting a spot with Tim Tebow.
Right. And so you have to change your coaching style, and you can't have these feel-good stories. You have to play the most talented people, or put the most talented people out there. So it's going to be interesting. We can judge them in the preseason. I think we'll have a better feeling once they get out of September, because again, they have a couple winnable games early with the Texans, even the Bengals. I'll say the Bengals are a winnable game for them.
Wow.
And if they can get out of
the Bengals are a winnable game for anybody, Breech.
Let me ask you
what
this.
I'm saying though is that all of this is going to be forgotten if Jacksonville gets out of September with a 2-2 record, which is possible.
Oh, shut up.
They play the Texans and the Bengals in September. It's possible.
I mean, it is insane to say it, but it is. Now, conversely, Breech, and by the way, the Texans and the Bengals are both away games. That doesn't exactly help matters. And they have the Broncos and the Cardinals at home. I mean, Arizona's hot. Denver, not exactly a warm climate. September 19th and September 26th.
Humidity
is going to be a scorcher in Jacksonville. Like, that's not a fun time to play. So, I mean, yes, you can be optimistic about their start, but I think the other side of that coin is, if you're having these problems getting the offense on the same page, and you can't go in and win any of these games, then if you start 0-4 with that schedule, the streets are going to be talking.
The streets. Let me ask you this: who wins more games with this Jacksonville team in 2021? Urban Meyer or
Mike McCarthy?
Dan Campbell?
I
I feel like it might be Dan Campbell, because his body, his what's the word? Body English? What's the word? His can't think of the phrase. Thanks for helping. But his
his body language, I think.
Body language, body English. It's like
body. I thought you said body language.
His body language isn't of a person who feels already like they're defeated. And that's just the sense I get looking at Urban. Nothing he says, but his body language as he walks around the field or stands on the sidelines. Dan Campbell is
it's like what, that shot that, and again, if I'm gonna rip Pete, got to give Pete credit too. Pete said, Urban looks like me when I went in to go get a colonoscopy the other
last week.
And to Brinson's point, real quick, about playing September games in Jacksonville against Denver and Arizona, games you think that Jacksonville would probably lose, but with that weather, Jacksonville in their past 6 home games played in September, they're 4-2. Think about how bad this team has been, and that includes beating the Colts in the season opener last year, 27-20. So you see these weird games in Jacksonville for whatever reason. So maybe they just shock us all and go 4-0 to start the season.
All right. Speaking of the Broncos,
that would be a shock.
And they beat the Patriots in 2018 in September in a home game.
That would be a shock if they went
all right.
September.
Speaking of the Broncos,
Teddy Bridgewater named the QB1 in Denver over Drew Lock. I actually feel, I don't know, I didn't tweet about it beforehand, so I guess it doesn't count, but I said it on the podcast. I think I was talking with Cody Benjamin, our pal Cody Benjamin, when we started talking about the job, and it occurred to me all of a sudden, after weeks of saying that Drew Lock was going to be the guy because of the upside that he offers, et cetera, et cetera. Instead, it always made more sense that the Broncos coaching staff and Vic Fangio would go with Teddy Bridgewater if he was comparable to Lock in the preseason, within a reasonable realm, because he gives him a higher floor. And this is not a team or a coaching staff that is trying to go for broke and win 14 games. This is a team that is trying to get in the playoffs and save some jobs. And Teddy Bridgewater, who, by the way, was drafted by George Patton. George Patton was in the front office when he was drafted in Minnesota. Also, offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur was the OC in Minnesota for 2 years when Teddy Bridgewater was there. One the year that Teddy got hurt in preseason, and then the second year Teddy played a little bit, but it was mostly Case Keenum who led them on the Minneapolis Miracle Drive. The Broncos are a robust 8.5-point favorite against the Broncos over at Caesars. The over-under against the Rams, over-under is 33.5. Any thoughts on that quarterback situation, Wilson, and or this spread? I like the Broncos, by the way.
I think you're right. I think it's the right choice. And, Drew Lock flashed at some points during the preseason, but he flashed at points during the last 2 years. He just has to put it together. He hasn't done it yet. And I think he just roll with Teddy, who's a safe option. And, he's not going to be super exciting, but he's also not going to make a ton of mistakes. And this defense is really good. Patrick Surtain had a pick six interception in his first game. And Von Miller's coming back. They have Justin Simmons. Bradley Chubb's there. I mean, so on and on it goes. So if you can just minimize the mistakes, especially in that division where you're going to have to, and you can sort of use your playmakers. Cortland Sutton's going to be back. Jerry Jeudy's going to be better. They have KJ Hamler. They have Noah Fant. I mean, they drafted, which running back? I think they drafted Javonte Williams, right? Yeah, Javonte Williams. I mean, this team could be quietly really, really good if you just don't make a ton of dumb mistakes. And I think that's exactly what Teddy Bridgewater gives you. So I get it. I'm fine with it. Maybe Drew Lock gets his chance. Maybe he doesn't. But this is, I think, ensures a more stable offense under Teddy B than Drew Lock.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Drew Lock did last year. He threw 15 interceptions in, I think, 13 starts. So it's not like that's what you can't have if you're the Broncos. There's not a lot of margin for error. So what you want out of your quarterback, Ryan, you hit the nail on the head. It's somebody who doesn't make mistakes. And that's what Teddy Bridgewater does. He's just steady Teddy. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose the games for you with a dumb interception or a strip sack fumble at, in the fourth quarter when you just can't afford to have it. And so I think this is the right decision. I think, Brinson, you also said that he has the higher floor. That feels like the situation here where maybe Drew Lock at the absolute, if everything goes perfect, he can get you to 12 wins and Teddy can only get you to 11 wins. But the flip side is
Teddy's probably 9 or 10. Honestly.
If Drew Lock has a bad season, which is possible, if he plays like he did last year, maybe you go 5-12, where it feels like Teddy's worst case scenario is probably 7 or 8 wins. You're probably locked into 7 to 10 wins with Teddy Bridgewater. And if you're Vic Fangio, that's what you do because you're trying to save your job. You don't want to get fired. And with that 8.5-point spread, I think.
Hey, Breech.
The Broncos have won both their preseason games by 27 points.
Let me ask Breech and or Brinson this question. You guys
and
can
the
both
Rams
answer.
don't play starters.
We all laid out the reasons why Teddy Bridgewater makes more sense. He's not a gunslinger. He's conservative. Would you rather on this team for this season, would you rather have Teddy Bridgewater or Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Fitzpatrick.
That's good.
I think so.
Probably Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, which is the exact. I mean, that's what Drew Lock isn't. He makes too many mistakes.
Let me ask you this, Ryan, because you're going to love this question. Would you rather have Teddy Bridgewater or Mac Jones?
I think segue or an actual
on this
team, because Mac Jones was still on the board when the Broncos picked at number 9.
And Patrick Surtain
or Justin Fields. Would you rather have Teddy, Drew Lock, Justin Fields, or Mac Jones?
And you get to add in the fact that you get Patrick Surtain, who's looked really good in the preseason.
Yeah, Patrick Surtain's also. Yeah. Jeez. So that's a tough one. I think you go for this year. It's only this year. Excuse me. You go Teddy and Patrick Surtain. But long term, I think you go with one of the other quarterbacks. And I think Mac Jones could start on this team right now and be successful, but you wouldn't have Patrick Surtain, which is obviously a consideration. Yeah,
for sure. The interesting thing, Vic Fangio trying to run. Has he ever coached with Mike Zimmer? I don't think so, right?
They're both defensive guys. I don't know.
No. They're both very similar coaches, I think. I mean, they're conservative defensive guys who want to run the football and play great defense. My point being is that maybe I think Vic Fangio is looking at this situation like the 2015 Minnesota Vikings, when in Teddy Bridgewater's second year, they went 11-5. Teddy threw completed 65% of his passes, only had 3,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 picks. I mean, not great numbers at all. But, I mean, he was a very capable game manager. I think you're expecting more statistically from Teddy in that particular instance. But the point being is that they were 5th in points against in the NFL And I think Vic Fangio has to believe his Broncos defense this year can be a top 5 defense. And if they're a top 5 defense and Teddy Bridgewater gives you an average offense, the Vikings in 2015 were 16th in points scored, then all of a sudden you have to start to feel like you've got a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, Vic Fangio extends the length of his tenure in Denver, at least by
they never coached together. I just checked real quick.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but don't you agree that the situations are similar relative to the rosters and
they're contemporaries. Zim 65 and Fangio 63, so they probably run in the same circles. I'm sure they know each other quite well, but they've never actually been on the same staff together.
Yeah, that was the So, but that's just sort of the comp that I get, and I will go ahead and let's add it to the sheet. Denver -8.5. I was tempted to take the under because the Rams don't, as Breech pointed out, the Rams don't play anybody, and they just don't play anybody in the preseason. Right. But I'm worried that Denver will go out and score 35 points.
Disrespectful to Bryce Perkins and Duck Hodges, but okay.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Duck Hodges actually does not play for the team anymore, Ryan. He got cut.
Sorry, Duck.
Have we heard anything about what the Broncos will do with, because I was sort of hoping they would name the starter after week 3 so we could take the Broncos. You feel very confident that both guys would be aggressive in how they played in week 3.
If Drew Lock plays in this game, he's going to be slinging it.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I think the Broncos are a good bet. I think Drew Lock wants to make sure people know that he still is in the mix when it comes to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I like him to cover. I don't know about the over though. There's no reason to take the over in these games.
Well, the Rams unders are just crushing, but it's 33.5. And if the Broncos
the Broncos have almost hit that over by themselves in their first 2 games.
Yeah, that's exactly my concern.
But then Teddy B is not going to play though, right? Is Teddy B playing in this game?
I would assume Teddy B plays.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he will.
I
think once you name him the starter, that's why you do that, is so that you don't have to worry about him getting banged up.
It's going to be Drew Lock and Brett Rippon, and Rippon's good. I mean, he'll be slinging it too, I would imagine, but I don't know. This doesn't make sense. You're only winning, what, 5% of the if you bet in the overs, you're winning 5 to 10% of the time.
8.5 is a huge number in the preseason. But when you talk about a team that has won both of their games by 27 points, I mean,
individually or combined?
No, both. Like they won their first game 33-6 and their second game 30-3.
Okay. Both unders.
Okay.
Well, so you're talking about a defense that I don't think they've given up a touchdown. So like that's kind of what, let's go into the season not having given up a touchdown. If you're looking for preseason incentive.
Okay.
The Patriots -3 at the Giants, over under 35.5. The big news out of New England is that this is exactly what we've been trying to say when we talk about quarterbacks being vaccinated and then people get all butt hurt and try to leave bad reviews like we're making this podcast political. We're not. The point of the vaccination discussion is that if a quarterback who's unvaccinated comes into a close contact situation or violates a protocol accidentally or on purpose, or test positive,
or the team messes up and puts this person in a situation that makes them in violation of the protocol.
Correct. Then that quarterback is going to have to miss X number of days. It could be 10 days, 5 days in the preseason. And Cam Newton, because of a medical situation, is forced to miss 5 days of training camp. And Bill Belichick said that, yes, this is a door opening for Mac Jones to come in and steal the job. And let me go get to my high school take presented by Bud Light. The Patriots should start Mac Jones in week 1 over Cam Newton. I can't believe I got here, but I'm here. Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston, a great guy and very tied into the Patriots, old Tommy. He wrote a column that said that Mac Jones has essentially won the job, and that if this is about who is playing the best, then Mac Jones will be the week 1 starter. And the reason why I think that Bill Belichick is going to go with Mac Jones as the week 1 starter is because when you have Cam Newton as your quarterback, you have to design a very, very specific game plan for Cam Newton. It is going to involve a lot of runs, and the red zone packages are completely different. Well, you can't install that game plan Monday through Friday, and then on Friday afternoon, Cam Newton has, again, either on accident or on purpose, gets put into quarantine protocol, and all of a sudden you have to completely change what you're doing and go with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a first-round pick. He's a high pick. Bill Belichick believed in him enough to take him that early, and I think he's going to go with Mac Jones, and I think he should go with Mac Jones. That's my ice-cold take, presented by Bud Light.
I like it. And you know what's funny is that Bill Belichick on Monday, asked about the starting job. It's Cam Newton's. Basically said it was Cam Newton's and that nothing had really changed their mind at that point from what he said earlier in training camp. All of a sudden, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, he's like, yeah, if Mac plays well, something might change. That was Tuesday. And that, this is a big week for Mac Jones. By the time we get to Thursday, it's like, I don't know when I'm going to name a starter, because I think things have been completely rearranged. And I think one of the things the Patriots are taking into consideration is if these two guys are 50-50, do we want the guy that had to miss games last year because he came down with COVID, is missing key practices right now because he's not following protocol and is not vaccinated? And that is the thing. We have seen it. Look, Ryan Tannehill, who is on the COVID list right now, ironically enough, is the one who said it earlier this offseason. He said he was not planning to get the vaccine, did not want to get the vaccine, but because the NFL has stacked the deck against unvaccinated players and put them at a competitive disadvantage, that him as a leader in his locker room, he had to do it because he did not want to put his team at a competitive disadvantage. And that's what it comes down to. And so I think Belichick is going to take that into account and say, look, Mac Jones here is available all the time. We can't risk Cam Newton missing 2 games in the middle of the season because he went to the grocery store and caught COVID. So I think that that's part of the reason that Belichick will probably lean that way. So I agree with you, Brinson. I think Mac Jones could be the upset winner here.
I'm reading through some Mac Jones, like this will be stuff of legend.
Ryan Wilson porn.
Yeah, it really is. So Zach Cox of Nesson tweeted this out a couple hours ago on Thursday. Dante Hightower said recently he found out Mac Jones has been studying the Patriots defensive plays on his own to better prepare himself. And he said that's something, quote, not a lot of young guys would do. The kid works hard, end quote. And then Julian Edelman retweeted this and he's added football guy when talking about Mac Jones. Apparently yesterday on Wednesday, when Mac Jones shined in team drills, the rookie undoubtedly earned respect. And this is Bob Sochi, who
play-by-play voice of the.
Okay, he didn't say who he is in the thing, but he's So he writes, Jones shined in team drills on Wednesday. The rookie undoubtedly earned respect from teammates after the early practice skirmish between the Pats and the Giants. Linemen. Once order was restored, the two groups ran a lap. Who joined the Pats' big bodies on their run? Their quarterback.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I mean, look, as Breech noted, it could be 50-50. And Cam Newton looked fantastic in the Week 2 preseason game. But if you can't count on him, you can't count on him. And I say it all the time when people ask me on the radio, what do you think about it? I said, well, look, if you live in the middle of nowhere, if you're self-employed, you work at home, you work on a farm or whatever, don't get back. I don't care because you're not endangering your coworkers in terms of them being able to do their jobs. So you understand this, the situation. To Cam Newton's credit, I haven't heard him complaining about the rules like some other players have. I haven't heard him say a word about this, even though he may have gotten screwed on this thing because maybe the organization made a mistake. I don't know. But it just seems weird to me that you would be willing to possibly lose your job. And I would imagine that he has more money than he can count, Cam Newton does, but he's still very competitive, or he would just retire. So if he's out here, I would imagine
you're losing your job and you're potentially losing a lucrative future contract. Because if you played really well for the Patriots on a 1-year deal, maybe you end up, getting paid in the offseason.
Be the Bengals quarterback next year, probably.
Who's Bill Belichick's? Who's Bill Belichick's mentor? Does anybody know?
What do you mean Bill Belichick's mentor? Bill Belichick's mentor.
Bill Parcells?
Yes, it was Bill Parcells. And didn't Bill Parcells famously say the best ability is availability? It may not have actually been Parcells. Could have been somebody else. But
that's a thing. Yeah, sure. I'll give it to you.
It's a famous football quote. And I do think competitive advantage or competitive disadvantage, whatever you want to call it. I think Bill Belichick you never hear him complain about the rules. He doesn't do that. What he does instead is he takes the rules, analyzes them, and figure out where the margins are, where the margins for a competitive advantage are.
Where's the line and how far can I go without crossing it?
Yeah, but I mean, this is a no-brainer. If these two guys are even, you want to take the guy who doesn't require a very specific game plan and who is guaranteed to be available. So I don't.
And also has a higher upside because he's presumably going to be with your franchise for the next at least a decade if he's successful. Whereas Cam Newton, even if he's somewhat good this year, he's probably done after the 2020 after the season.
I would agree with that. By the way, do we think the Giants are going to start Danny Dimes or play Danny Dimes in this game?
They are or not?
They are.
Thank God. I mean, he hadn't played the previous 2 weeks. And I know last week before their preseason game, Joe Judge, the coach, said, well, we had the joint practices, so we felt comfortable not playing him. But still, I mean, I think he needs to play with his team. So I'm glad he's going out there because we have no idea what he looks like.
I think the Pats -3 is a bet. The Giants have looked awful in the preseason. I don't think they'll give a ton of snaps to Daniel Jones, and the Patriots haven't. Again, we found through the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, or the first 2 weeks of the preseason, I guess, that betting on teams with close, competitive, reasonably high floor, high ceiling quarterback battles is a good way to go, because if Cam Newton and Mac Jones both play in this game, they are both going to be aggressively trying to show that they can play well. And I don't think the Giants are going to do a whole lot in the preseason. So I think we'll add
by the way, the Patriots absolutely were crushing fools last week. I don't know if you know.
Eagles.
Oh, they obliterated this sorry Eagles team.
And it was Debo. Did you watch any of that game?
I had no power. I was getting hit by a hurricane pretty hard, so I thankfully did not watch that.
You were the winner then, because people had to watch this game as Eagle fans were. Oh, the first series of the game was Joe Flacco getting strip sacked and the Patriots running the ball down to the 5-yard line. That's how the game started. So and Jalen Hurts was warming up. He looked to be dancing pregame, having a good time, and then he had some sort of abdominal issue where he couldn't even play. So that was another concern. So yeah, the things went wrong from Jump Street for the Eagles, but the Patriots, not wanting to make excuses, just dominated. So I feel like, you could argue whether the Eagles or the Giants are the worst team in that division, but it ain't like the Giants are that much better than the Eagles, and the Patriots are the Patriots.
Yeah. So we get the Broncos -8.5, Pats -3 for our first 2 preseason bets in week 3. Only 13 more days until fans are back in stadiums for the kickoff of the regular NFL season, or the NFL regular season. To celebrate, Bud Light just unveiled their limited edition team cans designed for fans. And we are going to open ours. That's right. We have our own Bud Light bottles and cans that we are going to open right now on the podcast. They sent me some Panthers. I haven't seen him. Wilson's got a bottle out, but they sent Wilson some Blitzburg Steelers cans and Breech. It's interesting. They sent me 15 as a Panthers fan, and they sent Breech as a Bengals fan 24. I'll let you make the connection there. Let's go ahead and crack these bad boys up.
Well, I figured that's perfect that they sent me 24, because if I drink one after every Bengals win, these beers will last me until 2030. So
yeah, that's right.
We're in good shape here. Bud Light just hooked me up with 9 years worth of beer.
I've had this 24 heavy. Now, most of the beers that have glass bottles, I've got the aluminum, the big 16-ounce aluminum bottles. What do you have, cans or bottles, Breech?
I have aluminum cans.
I love these aluminum cans. These are like the best way to, and because it used to have to buy, before they started doing these packaging. Look at that. I kind of like that. Wait, let's see what all does the Bengals would say. Sorry, if you can watch this on youtube.com/pick6, you can get your own at budlight.com/delivery to find out how to get yours delivered.
What does it say on the bottle, Breech? Houday? What else does it say?
We got the big Houday. That's the one that matters. Then you got to get the dub, stripes, the new stripes, because we got the new stripes, the new uniforms.
Okay.
Legends.
Sort of implying that the Bengals will win one game this year.
Get the dub, singular.
Get the dubs. Get the dub.
And there's a Bengals logo. I have.
I like that Bengals can. Let's see this. What do you got going with the Steelers?
I have the old school 12-ounce Bud Light bottle, but instead of the typical label, it says Blitzburg with a little Steelers logo. Straight to the point, just like Pittsburgh.
That's a very blue collar.
Exactly. Yes.
Hand in the dirt type of give me the glass.
No frills. Just give me the beer and give me a label that I can recognize. And for the Panthers,
let's see. The Panthers appear to be #for the fans. Each one of these has an individual slogan, I believe. Blitzburg, Houday. What's the slogan on your box there, Breech?
Brinson, the box is so heavy I can't lift it up.
I gotta tell you, I like how they. I don't know if you noticed this, but they fold the flaps in on the handle so that way it doesn't get loose. Very nice there. Very, very good touch. All right. Oh, look at this Panthers one. All right. #for the fans. Oh, I got a roar on there. A little cat, a little panther roaring. We got game day, icy blue, 2 states, 1 team, touchdown, blue and black attack, legends. I'm digging these. And the best part about these cans or these bottles, these aluminum bottles, is that when you're in a stadium and you've got a beer. They used to do it where they would give you like the 32-ounce gigantic, bottles. These you can reseal these, so like you can, you don't feel like you have to have it open. These stay cooler. less spillage, and much easier to drink than the big thick can. You know what I'm saying?
And you can support your favorite team.
I do like the lid. And actually, when my wife saw these, she got excited by aluminum bottles. I guess she had never seen an aluminum bottle. I mean, I feel like there's only been aluminum bottles for like 4 or 5 years. They haven't been around.
No, they haven't been around long. I mean, yeah.
So I don't think she had ever seen one in person, and she got irrationally excited.
That
was a nice reaction.
By the way, I love Rachel. She's way too good for Breech, but she is from Alabama, Breech. So maybe they haven't gotten to Alabama yet. The aluminum bottles. Don't tell us that. That's the first wife talk.
They actually just got the internet in the past 3 weeks. I almost wasn't able to do my job when I was in Alabama a couple weeks ago.
I feel terrible for dunking on Breech's wife.
These cool bottles and cans, just clap your hands. They are all hitting stores now, and the only beer you're going to want to have in your fridge this season. So head over to budlight.com/delivery. That's budlight.com/delivery to find out how to get yours delivered. Get your Panthers beer sent to you, people. budlight.com/delivery. Okay. Raiders at the 49ers. 49ers minus 3.5, over under 35.5. Actually, we can lump these. We probably need to pick up the pace on this. So let's lump these.
I was going to say, we're going to be here till the start of the season.
Yeah, let's lump these 3 games together. Debo says quarterback 1 seemed to be decided as the list. Eagles at the Jets. Jets minus 4. Wow. And Cardinals at Saints. Saints minus 3.5. The Saints have not. We think Jameis is. We think Jameis is going to get the job at this point. It would be shocking if he didn't.
If I gave you 95% chance Jameis gets the job, you can do the odds on that. Is anyone taking Taysom Hill?
No. Wait, you mean like Jameis is minus? I think Jameis would be like minus 500 right now.
I was going to say like minus 400 or something, and like I'll give you 10,001 odds on Taysom.
No, thank you.
But you have to bet at least $1,000 on Taysom to get those.
Never.
Odds. Never. Okay.
I kind of like the Saints minus 3.5 here though, because they're not going to announce the starter before this game. So Jameis still has incentive to play really well, and Taysom has incentive to play really well also. The other thing we could do is just go with the over here. I wonder how much Kyler Murray will play.
Probably not a lot.
Okay. The Cardinals scored 10 in week 2. Cliff Kingsbury does not care about the preseason.
He does
19
not.
in week 1.
So blindingly handsome, you can't even fault him for that.
Breech, what do you think? You like the over here, or just go with the Saints?
I would just go with the Saints. It's
Yeah,
not because the Saints haven't even been scoring machines. They're only averaging like 17, 18 points a game in the preseason, even though Jameis Winston, and that's with Winston playing well. What happens if he's just a little off, or if Taysom Hill throws an interception?
Yeah, quit messing with the overs. I don't know why you keep asking for overs.
Yeah, overs are a little risky in the preseason.
I had it over in that Monday night game.
And you lost, didn't you?
That hit. Took some miracle CJ Beathard touchdown to the fourth quarter. Urban stinks so bad. That's why I lost.
All right, Eagles at Jets. Hopefully Jalen Hurts plays. I would imagine Zach Wilson gets one last look. I don't even know where to go.
Yeah, these are tough ones because they're the ones you like. If I was going to bet Eagles Jets, I would wait till about an hour before the game so I know exactly who's playing. Because if Zach Wilson's playing, I love that Jets offense right now, and I would absolutely bet the Jets. But if Jalen Hurts is playing for the Eagles and Zach Wilson is out for the Jets, or vice versa, then that changes how you feel about this game. But if it's everybody's putting their starters in for the first quarter and they're treating it like a true week 3 of the preseason, even though it's technically the last week of the preseason now when no one plays their starters. But if starters are out there, I would take the Jets.
Okay. Debo, thoughts on what's percolating with the Eagles right now? Devonta Smith getting some heat, starting to rise up fantasy draft boards.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from the receivers. Devontae, Jalen Reagor out there making catches. Quez Watkins, who we talked about the other day during a Fantasy Week episode, noticeably absent from that group. Our guy J-Jaw, but yeah, I'm not concerned about the 35-0 thrashing. It was backups and third stringers, and I think we can settle the quarterback, if you want to call it a debate. All aboard the Jalen Hurts train for the regular season.
There's no debate. It's Jalen Hurts. It's just the guy.
Joe Flacco's wearing the.
By the way, I was watching Preston Johnson, who's at Sports Cheetah on Twitter. I was watching. He was doing a show. I think it was a Bets TV show, and he actually said, during the lead up to what the main part of the show, he was just sort of shooting the bleep with people in the chat, and I think he actually said he loves to bet on the Eagles to win the division this year, and said he wouldn't be opposed if you wanted to sprinkle on the Eagles to win the NFC.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I mean, stop it. What are we doing?
I mean,
like, compared to Breech saying that Gardner Minshew's a 3rd-round pick, that's like saying Gardner Minshew's worth 3 first-round picks. Like, that's just crazy.
I don't think it. I mean, I think it's crazy, but I don't think it's that
All
crazy.
right, well, put your money where your mouth is, and then we'll revisit it in January.
Brinson, why don't you just get a match and set your money on fire right here on the podcast?
Yeah, at least
that's what you're doing if you bet the Eagles.
Let us get some enjoyment out of it.
We will have a bold predictions episode coming up very soon.
Here's a bold prediction about my bold predictions. I won't be picking the Eagles to win the NFC.
That doesn't seem bold, Breech.
No, it doesn't seem bold.
I guess that's true.
Here's my bold prediction about your bold prediction, Breech. They will. They won't actually be bold. They'll just be like cased in a way that makes them appear to be bold, even though they're pretty standard.
I mean,
you'll never believe. I don't know if that was dunk worthy, but okay.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, 10 seconds on Raiders at 49ers, -3.5.
49ers quarterback situation still undergoing. Trey Lance looked awesome in the second half of their second game. Struggled a little bit early on in the first half. I would expect that Kyle Shanahan wants to give these guys as much a chance to win the job as they possibly can. I still think it'll be Jimmy G.
I don't think Derek Carr's going to play. And Jimmy G actually smiled when asked on Wednesday if he was a starter. He says, yeah, I pretty much have a good idea who it's going to be. And so
we need to take the 49ers -3.5 then.
Yeah.
Derek Carr's not playing?
I don't think he's playing. I think that he's not going to play all preseason.
So I'm going to say real quick, the NFC has gone 4-24 straight up against the AFC in the preseason this year. But the 49ers have one of the wins.
Ah, there you go. They beat the Chargers.
They did beat the Chargers.
They should have throttled the Chargers. The Chargers have scored all 10 of their points on turnovers that were caused by the receivers dropping balls. The Bears -2 at the Titans. Last we saw the Bears, they were getting revenged by Mitchell Trubisky. Over under here 36.5. I mean, I guess I don't.
No,
we already know that Matt Barkley is going to be the starting quarterback for the Titans that game, so it's going to be Barkley and Logan Woodside. So you're looking at
Justin Field and Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's not playing, so I think you'll probably see an entire half of Justin Fields and then Nick Foles. So
I would bang the under. Number one, yeah. I think all but maybe one. I have to go back and check, but of Andy Dalton, he's not playing, as Breech mentioned. 3 and outs. He had the one long touchdown throw, I believe, at least one long throw. Justin Fields is going to be running for his life. That offensive line is not great. They had to sign Jason Peters because Tevin Jenkins, their 2nd-round pick, is gone for most of the season, I believe. So Nick Foles is going to come in unless he thinks it's Philadelphia 2017. That may not matter. I think 36.5 is screaming. Bang.
Man, the Titans have scored 23 and 34 in the preseason so far.
Yeah, but this Bears defense is not terrible, and I don't think this game matters. And the Bears aren't good offensively. So you're asking the Titans to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And the Buccaneers didn't play their starters in the game where the Titans scored 34.
Didn't play a single starter. Yeah, I don't think so. Interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm going to hold off on that one and come back to it. I don't
want to get the over. All right, go ahead.
Right. No, I don't want to get the over. I just, although 34-3 barely loses that under too. I will consider that under, and we'll circle. I'll put it over here in the little maybe section. Titan.
All right. Colts at Lions. Colts -2. Over under 33.5.
Don't expect to see Carson Wentz in this game. He'll probably be back for week 1.
He will not play this game.
Yeah, he's not going to play in this game.
But they do think week 1's a possibility now.
Yeah, it's almost the way he's practicing right now. It looks like
that is great news because I've watched both those games closely, and Jacob Eason and Sam Ellinger have both had moments where like okay, and then had a lot of moments like oh boy, they got to figure this out. So good, great news for the Colts. Long term.
I think on this spot, I'm going to take the Lions scored 20 against the Steelers.
It was 26-0 until maybe even the fourth quarter. They were getting housed. Yeah, you got to take this out, Debo. I'm looking it up now. It's not great. Oh, that's hysterical.
Don't take that out. It's
no, you have to take it out. This is
oh my
God. Oh, his voice cracked. Now you have to keep it in. Wait, so you weren't going to actually say that we should bet on the Lions, were you, Brinson?
No, I want to bet on the other team.
Oh, okay.
The Colts. I'll take the Colts. Colts -2. Add that to the list. All right. Steelers at Panthers. Panthers -4 over under 35. Carolina is really banged up and hasn't done much in the preseason and don't appear interested in playing Sam Darnold. I don't really know why they're favored here. So
this has to come out. I mean, there's no way you could leave this in.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Of course there is. I'm a grown man.
You old sailor, you.
You old sailor, you. Steelers at Panthers. Steelers and Panthers always play what used to be week 4 of the preseason. I don't think any of the starters are playing for Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger played a couple series last week and looked fantastic.
Dwayne Haskins is starting.
Okay, there you go. Dwayne Haskins is starting. So that means Mason's probably the number 2 unless Dwayne Haskins throws for 500 yards and 10 touchdowns. But again, Sam Darnold's played 2 series the whole entire preseason. I don't understand what's going on there. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, why he's not playing more.
Matt Rule said it's because they don't have enough pieces around him. That's terrifying.
Well, how's that going to change in 2 weeks?
I know, right?
Sweet mercy. Okay, so I mean, I don't know why the Panthers are favored, but okay.
Yeah, I would probably take the Steelers.
And Dwayne Haskins has looked pretty good, by the way. He said, all the things you expect someone to say.
And again, like, there's no competition for the starter, but Big Ben's kind of flashed when he's played in the preseason, and Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins are in theory competing for the backup spot.
Mason's looked pretty good
too, as well. Like Sam Ellinger and Jacob Eason are competing for the backup spot. I mean, that's you want guys who are in heated competitions who have an incentive to play well in these spots.
Yeah, Will Grier. Actually, Will Grier hasn't looked terrible. And then they have PJ Walker. I always struggle to remember his last name.
Yeah.
I mean, the Steelers feel like a better choice, but
I'll take the Steelers in the points. That's perfectly fine with me. I like the Bills -8 against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers not going to play in the preseason. Jordan Love is banged up, so I can't imagine he'll play a lot. And Mitch's just look good for the Bills. The Bills look interested in kind of getting the mojo going.
He ain't playing Chicago. That's the problem. You called it last week with the revenge game. I will say this. This is something that I noticed last week watching the Packers game. Kurt Benkert, who I probably was undrafted, who's the backup, who played a lot because Jordan Love was injured. He was dealing to the level of like one of the first round rookie quarterbacks that we all fawn over. Like, oh my God, this guy's going crazy. And the takeaway for me was that all these quarterbacks are pretty good. And while we get excited about these first round picks actually looking like their first round picks, when the season starts, they typically don't look great. Justin Herbert being the obvious exception. But I mean, no one was talking up Kurt Benkert like he was the next coming of the backup to Aaron Rodgers. But if he had been a first-round pick this year, we would have been doing hours and hours of programming about Kurt Benkert. So my only takeaway from watching that is that these guys are good and they're going to make plays. So let's just remember that. What are you going to say?
And real quick on that game, Josh Allen is going to be the starting quarterback for the Bills. McDermott said on Thursday that the Bills starters will be playing a little bit.
Well, all right. I think the other thing too, I don't know if this is full blown degen, but I kind of like the idea. Tease the Bills and the Broncos. 6-point teaser. You get the Bills -2, Broncos -2.5.
All right. I'm just laughing at what I said. I'm so glad I didn't say it on HQ. That would have been like one of the.
Still laughing at motor
that would have been a forky situation.
You can't keep talking about it because then when I cut it out, people are going to have
it out now because
now you can't cut it out because then you'd have to cut out the whole podcast and we can't do that.
No, you can cut it. Sorry, Debo. I didn't think about that.
Do not cut it out.
No, stop it. You got me fired. You almost got me fired. You almost got me fired the first time.
We got 12 hours until this releases. I'll have to think about it.
Think about it, Debo. Sorry about all the things I said about the Eagles.
Debo, do what's right. The guy was just slamming the Eagles for half the podcast. Jokes on you, Wilson.
Man, all of a sudden we've got a pretty full card here coming up in the preseason. And we have regular season college football starting week 0. The Ravens -4 at Washington. I think Washington's a good team. I expect that they'll play some of their starters. Maybe I will see. But you just have to take John Harbaugh against the spread until further notice.
19-0, I think I wrote it down somewhere. 19 going back to 20, like the last few years, and he's like 23-6 all time.
He's 2-0.
The winning streak is 19 games, which is tied for the longest preseason winning streak in NFL history. And you have to think John Harbaugh, a guy who likes winning preseason games, absolutely wants to break this record.
What's the record again, Breech? I'm sorry.
19-game winning streak in the preseason. So it's tied with the Packers, 1959, 1962 Packers for the longest preseason winning streak ever. And so you have to think Harbaugh's thinking, you know what, let's just win this game. We'll get the record and then we'll deal with preseason next year. I don't know. So I feel like he's going to coach to win this game.
You know what Herm Edwards says?
You play to win the game.
You got it.
Okay, the Chargers at Seahawks, that over-under is 35. I would be fine. Any over-under at 35 or lower with the Chargers or the Rams you should take.
No starters are playing for the Chargers.
Yeah, I would stay away from this from the points perspective, like betting on either team, because neither of these teams are really going to have any starters out there.
I think
Russell Wilson.
The Chargers under. Chargers under 35. If it gets
Justin Herbert,
I'll take it.
Is Tua playing for the Dolphins?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. He's had a good preseason. I'm happy that he's playing well.
And I think I'm assuming he's going to play. He played last week and he played a lot.
And I would ask Breech this. We heard Debo talk about how happy he is with Devontae Smith. How do you feel about Jamar Chase dropping 3 passes last week?
It's a preseason game. I'm fine with it. Rather he do it in the preseason than the regular season, Ryan. What do you want me to say? That I'd rather have Penei Sewell? Is that what you wanted to hear?
He struggled against the Steelers.
No, I
so
think
maybe not.
I know he did. It's like Penei Sewell's missed a block for every pass that Jamar Chase has dropped,
There you
just
go.
so we don't have to worry about arguing those two guys against each other.
All right, there you go. Fair enough. Oh, but Joe Burrow is playing in this game, which I thought was an interesting development because I was under the impression, and you guys maybe were under similar impressions, that he wasn't going to play.
Well, that was the whole thing for the past month. Basically, since they got the training camp, Mike Brown, the Bengals owner, did an interview the first few days of training camp, and he was asked if Joe Burrow would play in the preseason. He laughed like, no way. And then Zach Taylor was asked that for over a couple of weeks, and Taylor is like, probably not. But then a couple weeks ago, early August, mid-August, Joe Burrow got asked, and he said, look, I want to play in a preseason game because I want to get, I wasn't mentally there at the beginning of camp, and now I want to take a hit. I want to face a pass rush before I go into the regular season. And at the time, Zach Taylor was still like, yeah, we'll talk about it, but I don't know. So Joe Burrow clearly wanted to play, and it looks like he talked the Bengals into it. Will I maybe retire from covering football if he tears his ACL against the Dolphins? Yes, because there is this risk. He has not played in a game since November. This is only what? I can't do the math. November, how many months later?
Oh, it's like, what's it, like 9 months, 10 months?
I think it's 9 months later, just barely 9 months later, and you're sending him out there in a preseason game. So I am for it. I do think if he wants to be out there, you should put him out there for at least a series, but there is always that risk, and every single Bengals fan is going to be sweating the whole entire time he's on the field.
I think it's good to get him out there. Let him see some live action.
I think we
like that Dolphins Bengals over then.
Again with the over. Stop it.
I don't think Burrow's going to play more than maybe 2 series at the most, and then you
bring in Brandon Allen. I think Brandon Allen's still there.
Dolphins scored 13 in week 1 against the Bears.
The Bengals games, 2 preseason games, have gone 33-30 total points.
So they're
for
due.
both teams.
They're due according to Brinson.
The Dolphins scored 37 last week against the Falcons.
The Falcons are, I can't say dog doo-doo. They're poo-poo.
Oh, so what are the Bengals? Cat poo?
Not in the preseason. They beat the Buccaneers. They beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
You got dunked on.
They went into Tampa Bay and beat Tom Brady. Tom Brady played in that game. He played in that game.
He played one series.
He got sacked.
Wow. Tua's going to want to put on a show. I
don't think Tua's playing.
Oh, Tua's not playing. They don't take the over. What? Why would Tua not play?
Because he's the starting quarterback. He doesn't have anybody to.
No,
so are we treating then? Is this is the hard part? Is like do we think they're treating this like a
Yeah, it's definite. Flores said Thursday that Tua is not playing against the Bengals.
Okay, so this is not being treated as week 3 of the preseason. This is being treated as week 4 of the preseason.
But it's flipped because some coaches are treating it like week 3 where you play your starters, and then some coaches are treating like the preseason finale where you generally sit all your starters. So every team's doing kind of a different thing. Yeah. Which makes this even more unpredictable.
Bet the under. There's not who knows who's going to win this game. Bet the under.
One game on this list that we skipped that I want to bring up before we get to the bottom is Buccaneers Texans. I have bet the Texans have made me some money. I bet them as underdogs 2 straight times. They've been big underdogs against the Packers in the first preseason game. I think they were like plus 180 on the money line. Against the Cowboys, I think they were like plus 140. I bet them both times. They won both times. And again, they are an underdog. The Texans, everyone's fighting for a job. They're playing their starters longer than everyone else. And they're playing the Buccaneers this week, who rested all their starters and lost to Tennessee 34-3. They're going to rest their starters again this week. And despite that, the Texans are still a 4-point underdog, plus 155, which is crazy. So they've already won 2 bets for me. I'm going to ride them again this week.
And I'll say this about the Texans. Like Davis Mills, the rookie quarterback of the draft 3rd round, has looked good when I've watched him play. Tyrod's been good as a starter. And unlike the Jaguars, the Texans, and Breech has hit on this, those guys are playing hard out there. They don't look like a 1-1 football team. David Culley is animated on the sidelines, even though he doesn't have one of the best players in the NFL, and he won't have him, and Deshaun Watson. And you sort of juxtapose that with the Jaguars. It feels like 2 totally different teams, which is why I think that the Texans may actually end up not being the worst team in football.
And the Buccaneers are a 4-point favorite. I'm not even betting the Texans to cover. I'm betting them to win the game straight up.
Look at this guy.
I like it.
Brinson's
right.
betting the over.
No, the Texans. I think the Texans are who we thought the Lions were. The Charlie Hustle.
It feels that way.
Of the preseason.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
David Culley has been playing hard.
He does.
And he's not out there telling his players to bite kneecaps off. And he's
Well,
not
and I
drinking
think
6 pots of coffee a day.
there's an incentive too if you're David Culley where you don't want the Texans to look like total butt for the entire preseason. And
Urban Meyer doesn't either, and he's not doing anything about it.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Urban.
Well, maybe the Jaguars just suck. I mean,
all right. Well,
all right. That's the preseason week 3 show.
Browns Falcons. Do Browns Falcons?
No, we did not do Browns Falcons.
Browns probably aren't playing anyone. The Falcons stink. Bet the under 36.
Okay.
And if you do bet that, keep an eye on. There's been some speculation. Matt Ryan might play. Doesn't usually play in the preseason, but he has a new head coach. I want to see how he can run the offense. So there is a chance he could be out there. But you need to make sure before you make that bet, because if not, it's going to be Josh Rosen, who's been on the team for 5 days.
All right. So the games we have like 13. We have like 13 bets here.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
By the way, the best thing about this preseason week 3, all the games aren't Sunday at 1:00 or whatever. Like they're spread out Tuesday,
Oh, no kidding.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is nice. All right, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, I was gonna say all right. So the bets that I got from you guys, Titans under and Browns under for Wilson. Anything else that you really liked?
No, I'll take those. That's good.
Okay. Breech has the Buccaneers and the Texans.
Texans to win straight up and Ravens to win.
He's
straight
all
up.
over.
Oh, and I'm also on the Ravens. But you said Buccaneers too, right?
No. I was saying the Texans are playing the Buccaneers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Breech has. You guys can bet as many things as you want.
Yeah, the Ravens one's a layup. Yeah. I might even take Washington to upset.
Why would you take Washington to upset?
To upset John Harbaugh's record. That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. And then I've got Denver minus 8.5. Pats. By the way, I'll put all these on my Action Network profile if you want to follow them and track them there. Verified, no big deal. Broncos minus 8.5. Pats minus 3. Saints minus 3.5. 49ers minus 3.5. Colts minus 2. Bills minus 8. Steelers plus 4. Ravens minus 4. Chargers under 35. And I also like the bets that you guys made as well. So I think is that too much for the preseason slate?
It's a lot. Usually, because preseason games are kind of unpredictable.
I'm a little worried that if this is being treated as week 4, like we think it's like week 3, but it's
yes, exactly. So you don't know for sure how it's going to play out, and that's why, like when I bet preseason games, I literally wait till about 45 minutes before kickoff, just so you know who's playing. For sure. And so that's kind of what I was going to say is I'm reading these games. But again, and like I'm not trying to promote Action Network. I'm just trying to give people a place where they can see what I actually put in, because I think that these will probably change as we get closer to the games and as we hear who exactly is playing. But I think Browns under 36. I like. I'm going to cop that one from Wilson. Chargers under 30. The unders you probably want to get in early. I doubt I'll change on the Ravens in a couple of these. But that's sort of where the head's at. But just be aware that these, like, do you think I'm allowed to change them? Do I need to tweet it out? What's the protocol here?
Well,
Wait, so if people are listening to the podcast and get your picks and then you change it, you gotta
put it on your verified Action Network account. I think you're verified.
I think you have to pay everyone that loses on the bets that you change.
I think that's fair.
Or you text it to Wilson, he tweets it out from my account. It gets all 3 of us involved.
From Breech.
All right, well, I mean, we'll just roll with that big list and just hope that it's right.
I'll tweet out breaking from Will Brinson via Ryan Wilson's text messages to me. Will's changing his picks.
No, I don't want to change the picks from the podcast. I just want people to be aware that, as Breech said, that if we're taking the Saints minus 3.5 and Sean Payton comes out and says Jameis is my starter, I'm not playing Jameis or Taysom in this game.
Right.
I no longer like the Saints.
I think people understand. They understand that.
Yeah,
they know.
If we say we're taking the Broncos minus 8.5 and Vic Fangio does the same thing with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, I all of a sudden like them a lot less. That's sort of my point of what I'm getting at.
Got it.
Cool.
This is some good prep for Sunday nights. We're at freaking 70 minutes for a preseason preview.
After an hour of nonsense beforehand.
Oh my God.
Well, this will be down to 65 minutes after you take out part of it. So
all right. That's it. That's the show. That's a preseason week 3 preview. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday morning to recap the week 3 preseason and see how and see how we did on these bets for Ryan and John. And by the way, thanks again to everybody who donated on St. Jude's.